Hello, my name is Mark Randall. I'm an assistant professor of design strategies at Parsons School of Design at the New School. I've also been a beekeeper for over 20 years. Bees have not only provided honey and beeswax, they've impacted human society throughout history, creatively, culturally, and spiritually. The first record of human-bee interaction from 8,000 years ago is a Mesolithic rock painting of a honey hunter harvesting honey and wax. In ancient Egypt, bees and their byproducts were incorporated into all aspects of Egyptian society. When Re, the creator of the world, wept, his tears turned into a bee. Bees and beekeeping have long been used as symbols of community and industry. In 1840, caricaturist George Cruikshank used a beehive as a metaphor for the strict social structure of British society. Honeycomb is a marvelous feat of design, engineering, and strength. It served as the inspiration for Frank Lloyd Wright's Honeycomb House, designed in 1937. In 1962, poet Sylvia Plath wrote a series of poems using beekeeping as a metaphor for her own internal struggles. Building a single subject course from such rich material allows for a dynamic and vibrant multidisciplinary classroom, one that engages a diverse cohort of design, science, and liberal arts students. For the first 8 weeks, we focused on science and nature. For the second half, art, design, and culture. Studio classes were the constant with a range of pedagogical activities. I recruited Dr. Davida Smith, Associate Professor of Natural Sciences at the New School, for a series of labs that laid the foundation for bee biology, touching on themes of sustainability. Field trips allowed students to experience the natural world in the urban setting of New York City, and guest lectures from diverse creatives demonstrated how bees influenced their work. My first assignment I called Research Roulette. I asked each student to come up with a list of key words of their interests. I had them pair these words with the theme of the class to do a search on the internet. Through this exercise, they were able to explore their interests in unexpected ways. The activity ended with each student identifying one subject to present to the class. This allowed for shared learning across a range of disciplines. Field trips gave the students the opportunity to physically engage with bees, and to overcome a fear that several had expressed at the beginning of the semester. For an exercise in building tools for research, we constructed bee boxes out of foam core. We then took the boxes to Central Park to capture bees, which were fed sugar syrup and marked with paint to observe and record the behavior we had learned about in class. All of the students, regardless of discipline, responded with enthusiasm to this type of highly engaged, interactive activity. It's often easy to get siloed in an academic setting. This interdisciplinary approach allowed me to reach across programs to involve other professors like Davida for the science labs. John Roach, Associate Professor of Fine Arts, whose work focuses on the impact of sound, led the class in an interactive bee sounds workshop. Mark Gardner, Assistant Professor of Architectural Practice and Society, brought to the class a project he has been developing in Tanzania, which provides resources to the local beekeeping community. The subject matter allowed me to include activities that engaged all of the senses. A honey evaluation workshop was based on the work of the UC Davis Honey and Pollination Center. The class of 13 was composed of students across 6 programs. Informed by their research and classroom experience, each student produced a final project on the subject of their choice. Bonnie and Coco explored cooking with honey and created a concept for a book of recipes from around the world. Julian, a strategic design and management student, experimented with natural dyes made from flowers. Ginyana developed a program to promote crop diversity, increase the bee population on Puerto Rico, and become part of the agro-tourism sector of her family's business. Danny developed a skincare mask using honey, propolis, and royal jelly inspired by the beauty regimens of ancient Egypt. She then created the packaging and branding. Integrated design student Dewani used the class to inform a children's community garden she was working on in her Integrated Studio 3 course. Reminiscent of the Honeycomb House by Frank Lloyd Wright, Dewani used a hexagonal grid and incorporated the use of sensory and educational elements inspired by bees. For the anonymous course evaluations, the students collectively gave the class a rating of 5 out of 5. Many of the comments spoke about the need for more interdisciplinary classes. I had each student write a reflection about their experience. Strategic Design and Management senior Gianna Vasquez wrote about her initial motivations. That, as a business major, the class would be something fun to take. She then goes on to reflect that it ended up meaning so much more than just an elective. In March of 2021, Gianna plans to move back home to Puerto Rico to launch her honey business. Throughout human history, bees have been a source of inspiration. They are one of the most remarkable insects on the planet. I often reflect on this excerpt from a poem by Emily Dickinson. To make a prairie, it takes a clover and one bee. One clover and a bee and reverie.